Let's get the flow. The whole h'tשכ here is to explain, on the one hand, plus Kolilon goy plus 3 are incorporated within 3, they are incorporated within 3, is a matzav of golus. It's a matzav where Chabad does not stand distinct and apart as the shoyrish of Chabad, which then engenders chagas, which is the flow as it should be, conscious, midas, seichel, behavior. This is not the case. It's a matzav of golus, which is akin to the uber, the fetus in the mother's womb, where the head is between the knees, as explained at length in the first and second shiur. The Zohar connects that with Moshe Rabbeinu. No, not the Zohar. The Maamar of the Mittel Rebbe, I think. 1 second. Yeah. The Maamar of the Mittel Rebbe connects that with Moshe Rabbeinu. And his Madrei Kim and Mayim, Yishisihu, she drew him from the Mayim. That is Makifim de Kedusha, obviously. It's a very holy level. Which is why they sought to seek nourishment from there, because relative to this transcendent level, that's why he was able to be. They took him into the house and brought him up. On the contrary, they thought they could siphon from his level, as it were. But the fact that the Maamar, the Mitlever, brings it together means that there's, on the one hand, this is the point here, which this whole Maamar is explained, that on the one hand, we're talking about a chsoren of Tlas Kolilon Goy Tlas, a matzav of Ibur, which is a chsoren compared to birth, as we explained, and at the same time was being connected to the darga of Moshe Rabbeinu Makifim de Kedusha. So there's a Maila here. What in heaven's name is the Maila? So all of this we began to explain. Srafim and Leifanim. Srafim, the Avodah is Yoshe, and Leifanim is Avodah is Igulim, which he explained already what that means. Yoshe means what? Help me fill in the blank. This is what I explained at length of the last few shiurim. Anybody feel free to comment? Meaning just a bit of English, some I know what you're talking about. What?
Down, straight, direct, from level to level. There are levels to it, from the beginning to the end.
Yeah, it's manifested, structured godliness as God desires it should be. A whole seder shtalshalus, and the eagle means it's stuff that the Ifanim are called. The word Ifan means actually a wheel, a circle. So what does that mean? Not structured. That's the Uber we're talking about, really. Everything is how the circle is the symbol of that, because
there's no beginning,
there's no end. Now he said in Avodah, what is it? It's the Avodah of not seichel and midas and a whole fully resonant mind and heart, but rather Avodah they found him is just one word even in Hebrew. Both are dvekas. What kind of dvekas is the question? So give me, yeah, all right. So what kind of avodah? One word. The true emotions are born from intellect. It's not really emotional. But how you describe the avodah in 1 or 2 words? Yeah, bittul kabbalah soil. Bittul kabbalah soil. Now he gave a human physical imagery for that. To explain the eagle, even physically. It's the middle of his gimel. No, he first told us where. No, so not his gimel. Yeah, his gimel. Yeah. It's a mamash halfway down. A physical expression here for us, this kind of avodah. A symbolic physical expression. I'll give you a hint. I'm saying it's halfway down, mamash halfway through the ois. Huh? Yeah. You bow your head when you're at submission. So what are you doing? That's the fetus. Your head is, instead of being atop the body, which indicates the assertion of seichel. When you bow your head, what are you doing? You're surrendering. That's a circular. That's the eagle. That's the symbolic avoid of the Ifani. Okay, so that's where we're actually in the middle of this, 2/3 down. Let's go where we're up to. Is so let's pick up again. The line begins with Avidosim, just under the number 16. See the number 16 in the text just below that. So what dominates the Avodah, what defines the Avodah of the Ifanim is not Seichel, not Midas, but Nehi. Netzach Chod Yesod. So how does that manifest? For the Ifanim. How does Nehi for the Ifanim manifest in their Avodas Hashem? What is it? It's very simple. They're what?
Doers.
So what are they doing?
They overcome.
What? No, Mamish, they found in Lamaila. What are they doing? They're not.
No.
What's their avodah? Simple. What?
Singing.
They song, which is going to analyze, rather look at what exactly they say. But the actual shira v'sish bachos, that's their nehi, that's their expression, that's their avodah, devoid of proper understanding and midas, but rather kabbalas oil bittul kind of praise. Clear? To be elaborated upon. Everybody has the place just below the number 16. So there avodah. Just check something. Do you guys hear me properly there? Didn't check the microphone.
Yes.
You do? Okay, good. Where are we? Yeah. The avodah is unlike this Rafim, is not like a love of this flames of fire, rapturous love, because of a great understanding, a surrender, an acknowledgement. That's their endless circle, the endless cycle, the endless rotation, literally. Here's where he said this, which we learned, like a person bows his head in submission, just the natural way a person expresses acknowledgement. You bow your head. He acknowledges that he owes his friend. When he bows his head, he's not expressing a whole essay of thanks. It's a bottom line acknowledgement. The bowing of the head is the actual surrender. Thank you. That's the expression of need, which is a practical expression of surrender. And just we have to just appreciate that Netzach Chod Yesod are not Seichel, not Midas. They just follow instructions of what is being conveyed. The whole nature is bittul. They implement and carry out whatever is going on. They don't have an opinion. They're not emotions. They're not Seichel. They're auxiliary. They're described as auxiliary faculties of the soul that carry out the soul's desire. In this case, the person is in a state of submission, and that's how they express it. Elo, nehi gufa, but in the he, this is the plus Kolilon great class. In the nehi, in their actual submission, yesh behelem, it's not like they're devoid of seichel and midas. And they're not robots, although they are compared to us, not having free choice. But they're not robots in the sense that they don't have Chabad and Chagas. They do. Canal. Sif Aleph. Being in class, Kolilon great class. That's the idea of the Uber, as it were. That's the idea of, again, it's a symbol of Golos to see at the end. Again, where the three exist, but the three of the Chabad are the three of invested in the three of Chagas, which are then in the three Nehi. It's all there, but in a latent, undifferentiated form. Kamoshal Avlad, again, like the embryo, Sharoisha Bein Birchov, that his head is between his knees. There is a head, Chabad, the Levin is a heart, Chagas. But you don't see the difference between the higher faculties and lower faculties. You don't see that the supremacy of intellect that is above and the foot is below. It's all in this nebula, one homogeneous state. We do not see, they're not differentiated. mind and heart. Elohim behelem, they're present, present but not manifest. For who a beautiful moshel it explained this in Avodah, or that applies to us. Kemoshel asiyas, I don't know if this moshel is brought anywhere else. Asiyas hachesed la'achri meshech zman. A person does an act of kindness to someone else, his friend, a long time after the whole appreciation of why you should do that. Initially, they were friends. In other words, they were friends, and then it starts with seichel. You cannot love somebody or anything you don't engage with, you're not familiar with, you don't appreciate, you don't understand. You can believe, but you can't love. So why is there love? Why is there friendship? Because they shared and understood each other and so on. And because of that, they acted, did each other favors. But here's a relationship where that's long forgotten. But the Pearl Mamish, we look out for each other, remains. That's the chesed, that's Nehi, it's a moshel of Nehi with the seichel and the midas abehelim. It's gone, it's receded. It's receded to a superconscious or subconscious level. Or the other way, it's kind of invested, bottled to the Maisa Chesed, not expressed, no longer conscious. You're no longer engaging. Not intellectually, therefore the love isn't there manifestedly. But the bottom line commitment, because there once was this, and it hovers in the background, continues to fuel the Pearl Mamish. You're out there for each other, you do favors for each other, etc. However, so again, like doing an act of kindness after a long time of what? Is he forgotten? Now, why do I even like this guy? Does he remember why? The love and the seichel, so he does it coldly. He's not doing his act of kindness enthusiastically and passionately. He does it dispassionately. He'll continue. He's a committed kind of guy. He's a loyal person. So he will continue to do these acts of kindness. Because Heskem means the conclusion that he had once arrived at, because he understands the guy and he loves his friend, and so there's a Heskem, the agreement, as it were, to therefore act accordingly. That Heskem, that agreement, like a contract, remains, but what led to the contract has not all but disappeared, not mamish, but receded.
When did the Yafanim have that kind of relationship originally?
That's what we're talking about. This is a marshal for that.
Right. Oh, it's a marshal, but I'm saying, when did they ever have that original relationship where they were?
Oh, that's a good question. When they have it originally? I'm actually thinking the same question. So, yeah. So I have a little bit of an answer, but maybe we'll go a bit further. I'll think about it further, and God willing, we'll answer your question. Thank you. It's a good question. The answer is they don't come in a vacuum, Leifanim. They don't come in a vacuum either. But we'll God willing address that. Good question. Okay. So he does the act of kindness. Important here. And in this agreement, as it were, this conclusion that he's loyal to his friend and he looks out for him and does acts of kindness. So in this Heskem, Nisha Roishem Ha'ava V'Asech. In this agreement, literally the Roishem means the trace. The simple meaning of Roishem is you write something, then erase it, but there's still the mark, the impression. Yeah, the impression is still on the parchment. So the impression of the love and the impression of the seichel is in that act, although not manifestedly. Like the letter, the ink is no longer there, but the impression there was a letter here still remains. And therefore, because the Av and the Seichel hasn't disappeared completely, it's in a very latent, non-conscious way. Therefore, he's committed to do the act now of kindness. Now, the act of kindness, we said, is conveyed in Netzachid Yisoid, Nehi. They are the auxiliary, as it were, faculties of the soul by which we implement decisions. He is a h'tשכ. So that my friend, and I'm there for him. The first one, he only talks about the first one, Netzach, because the first and critical component you need is there's going to be obstacles. There's always obstacles. So if it's very easy, and it never is very easy and convenient to do the chesed, you'll do it, but there's going to be an obstacle. There's this distance, this time, no such thing. So there has to be the nitzochen to overcome the obstacle, to actually, pick up the phone or do the act of kindness or whatever's go get, whatever the thing is. There's going to be resistance. So what's going to overcome the resistance is the h'tשכ. But this is the decision that I once made, and the trace or the impression of the decision latently is the memory, but not a conscious memory. This is the hemshech of the previous Maimah, receipts to the Koyach HaMaskil. To remember Amalek. It's there. There were the good times we had and appreciation. And these things are forever. They're true moments. They're true moments. So they are the fuel in a subconscious way for going to do this and overcome the resistance, the obstacle, which is inevitably going to be big obstacle, small obstacle. Don't have time, whatever it is. So therefore, with this koyach, which is what? The roishem of the ava and the seichel that is in the h'tשכ, the agreement, the decision. So with this koyach, he is nitzochen. Tzochen means victory, overcoming obstacles, in brackets. P'chinas hanetzach. Haschol, the beginning of nehi, and then hoid, and then yisoid. You actually bond, and you actually do it and connect. Lis etzli b'tmidis. So this is what fuels he should continue uninterruptedly be committed and do his chesed even though he's forgotten or it's concealed. He said actually both concealed and forgotten. The conscious seichel and ava, that's no longer there. So this is exactly what golus is. That's compared to a ibor that the fetus, its head, is between his knees. We do not have a real understanding, and the heart isn't fired. All we have is the pale mamish. Now, the Rivka's question, but when did we have it? The whole marshal, you had it once upon a time. And it recedes. We have to answer the question. And it recedes. But we never had it. We're born here now, and as we said, our seichel and our midas are very shallow. It's very shallow. It's hard to appreciate how shallow we are because it's all we know. But if you read Tanakh, for the contemporary reader of Tanakh, can't believe what these people were doing. The violence on the one hand, and the heights that they reached, extreme behavior. Because very deep souls. So when it's this way, when it's in Kedusha, it's unbelievable. And when it's in Klippa, they're capable of such behavior that's we can't relate to. We are very shallow. We can't say the word toilet. The whole world is very, it's sanitized.
Yeah.
It's what? You go back earlier, the language is raw, and then people were raw, and the Torah is raw. The Torah is raw that way. Earlier, why? It's powerful emotions and powerful, unplugged, unfiltered. And we are diluted. So the question is, but that's how we're born, right? We're born with, just a paradox, by the way. What? We're born straight to the, in the words of Alter Rebbe Tanya, Malchus, the Malchus Dasir, or even maybe then in Malchus the Malchus of Asir, that's where the Neshamas come. Whereas the Neshamas of the Tanoim, the Neshamas of Bria, and the Neshamas of the Deir Dave, and the Neshamas, that still this week. It can't even relate to this. I mean, we can relate. At the end of the day, it's all connected, but it's a whole different world. Tzaddik, who's in the Neshama Datzilis, and the Alter says in Tanya that's very rare and doesn't happen. Alter was in Neshama Datzilis. It's all different. You're looking, he says. So the question is, You did the Sadoiris, right? So the question is, in the Moshe we just said, you had it once, it just recedes. We never had it. The answer is that we did. We don't come in a vacuum. We're Gilgulim. First of all, like this. There's 2 points here. What?
It's a nation.
It's inside.
When? So you want to say that we had the mile before we came down. The mile before we came down is one thing, but it's more. Even the person himself in the previous generation were all Gilgulim. Number two, we're saying three things. It's all tied in. One, the neshama l'mayla had ava, etc. So it's that the memory there, it's there, but it just receded. Number two, previous lifetime, we're all Gilgulim from neshamas that were higher. Gilgul means this whole process of reincarnation. What breaks off, as it were, to use the language, is the lower levels of the neshama. The higher levels were elevated and refined. We're still connected, so there's that memory there in a subconscious way. And number three, all Klal Yisrael make one great body spanning the generations. So we're the Nehi, but we're not disconnected from the higher neshamas that have that experience. So for these three all related reasons, it is my experience before I came down, previous lifetime, and it's part of the great body of Klal Yisrael. The same is true with the Ifanim, we have to say. The Ifanim also, and answered your question, Rivka, don't come in a vacuum. They're part of Seder Shtal Shalus. That's intrinsically connected to Elam Abri and to the Srafim. So, and it's all interrelated. So not in direct way, but in direct way, they have a connection to that experience.
So the Srafim aren't, as we're describing here, just an impression they already understand.
The Srafim are the higher level that are manifestedly understanding.
And they're coming from this.
The Ifanim devolve, as it were, from the Srafim, as Olam HaYetzirah devolves from Olam HaBriyah.
But it's not conscious. And the Moshel and Nimshel is different. In the Moshel, you're saying that he once remembered.
No. The Moshel is the same thing.
The Nimshel, sorry, the Malachim, they come from there. They don't have any conscious, but they have no conscious memory.
Same thing in the Moshel. The same thing.
But over here he says,
in the Moshel,
he remembers an old thing. It's not.
He doesn't. He does not. No. Nishkach v'nis alam legamri. He's forgotten. Okay. All he has is the hesken. He's a roishem, but he's no conscious memory. No conscious memory. On the contrary, he doesn't like the guy anymore, consciously. There's the hesken. Like we looked in the previous Maimer. I mean, this is all tied in. This is the Fanim, is Davar the Melech, the Srafim is Shol. So even a Davar Hasono, he hates Hilda. That's the bittul. He's not saying it here, so I'm not going to, but we could perhaps even say that not only he's not remembering consciously, he doesn't have the feeling, but the guy makes him nervous. He hates him. But there's a heskim that to do chesed, and he's loyal, it's chesed. And takas bekriris, it's cold. It's he's not doing it enthusiastically. He can't. There's no emotion here. But the Pel Mamish is there. And of course, that's the whole point is going to come here. That's a big mile, the mile of Kabbalah Sil, the mile that they found him. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's dargah. Okay, let's go further. So this is the Avodah of Golos. It's all in the Hish, 3 lines to the bottom. Shehu Inyan HaToikev Ba'asiyeh B'Poel. That's the mile of our generation. The Toikev means the intensity of the actual Ma'aseh B'Poel, even when it's devoid of conscious. We're not coming in a vacuum. It's all there latently, deep within the soul and reincarnation and so on. We're all part of Klal Yisrael, as we said. But B'Poel Mamish, it is what? It's Maisa B'Poel. This is all analogous to, as we said before, a person acknowledges his friend, what his friend did, that he owes him. He bows his head. And that's the idea of the circle, the siv of a Gilgalei Fanim. That's the symbolism of the rotation, the wheels of the Ifanim. This is submission. The law is galus ha'ava k'dish be'esh, without the revelation of this fiery love, mitzad ha'saga v'izbonus, which is the avoid of the Seraph. Again, that's Shaul and David. Similar thing. Now comes the Maila. We should appreciate also, I mean, how fortunate we are learning Chassidus. People, everybody's familiar with all of this. They found him. Everybody knows it's a haftarah of Shavuos. It's just completely wheels turning. What's unrelatable completely. We have, what does a wheel mean? We don't mean begashmis. Having some appreciation. It's just this alone is such an incredible gift. I'm saying, okay, well, I'll share that story another time. And
we don't hear you.
Or see you.
Rivka, take over.
okay, do you hear me, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. It just the thing just shut down. Boom. Bim bum. So even though nonetheless there's a mile Matzino, we find gam mile befanim lagabe astraf, we find a mile in the befanim dafka over the srafim. Now to explain this at length. Now, friends, this has to be remembered because we're going to dive in a few moments. We're going to say everything that the srafim they find him say. And now we're going to get what it means.
Sure.
Isn't this wonderful? Sounds familiar? They call the Ifani HaKodesh, the holy wheels. Holy, hey, this holy rollers. We just got now a whole new appreciation of the expression. No idea where that comes from, but anyway. So what's Kodesh? They called holy. Says the Zohar, quoted frequently in Chassidus, Kodesh, when the Torah uses the word Kodesh, Mila Begarmei, it's something on its own. The context there is about Shabbos versus the rest of the week, and the Zohar addresses the rest of the week are also holy spheres. Shabbos is something on its own. Kodesh Mila means something. Begarmei on its own, meaning removed from creation, from everything else. The Ein Asrafim Nikroim Hashem HaKodesh. It's the Chayes HaKodesh. That's the Ifanim. V'ifanim v'Chayes HaKodesh. The Srafim are all called Kodesh. Number one. It's already something very telling. If you say it in Mizeh, moreover, what do the Srafim say? Anybody? Yeah. Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. And then Hashem Tzvokos. And then Meloich HaLoretz K'vodah. He's going to explain this. Holy, 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 the Lord of hosts. The world is filled with his glory. So they do say Kodesh. However, Kodesh b'vav dafke, not Kodesh, but Kodesh. Now the vav in the word means, we don't mean the pure Kodesh removed utterly, but drawn down. Vav always means drawn down, relating to creation. Kodesh is lower than Kodesh, which is something on its own fundamentally. Kodesh already means a compromised level of holiness that is already drawn into and relating to creation. Tzimtzum, in other words, in simple language. The Vav, the shape of the letter Vav, comes down. It's a level of godliness that has come down. What does Vav mean? You put a Vav in front of a word, it means and. And means connected to something else. And what does the word Vav mean? Actually means something. The Vavim in the Mishkan, they are the what? The hooks. What's the hook? To connect two things. That's the Srafim. Furthermore, in understanding what the Srafim say, even this level of Kodesh, which is level of Elikus, which relates already to creation. That's why there's a Vav in there. Stak Elikus, but there's an element of Tzimtzum. Even this is removed from them. That's what they're saying. What do they say? Kodesh, 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 Havayah Tzvokos. They're saying the Eibush is wholly removed. What level of holiness are they talking about? A level of holiness to begin with is as a shaykhis to ishtalshalos. That's the verb, and that's removed from there. Shukodesh removed mehem. God is holy. They're declaring He's beyond us. But what is He? What's the level they're declaring is beyond us? Even a level which relates in some way to ishtalshalos. There is the tzimtzum, there's the vav there. They don't declare Kodesh, God's removed from us. It's not what they say. What do they say? What do they say? Baruch is going to explain this soon. Baruch kvod avayim kem. End of the Ois will explain the meaning of what they say. But they don't invoke God's removed. Because incredibly, God's not removed from them. Even though they're the lower level of all that is Nehi, is Bittul, is Heidah. That's the Maila, as they'll explain. They find him, don't say Kodesh, ain't the Kodesh removed behem. Elikus is not removed from them. Ela oimrim, Baruch kvod havayim im koimai. Translation, blessed be the glory of God from His place. Understand the words. Baruch means sheyizbarech v'yumsha. The word Baruch means to draw down. Quickly, what's the other words in Hebrew that convey this idea of drawing down? Berech is a knee, a knee by which we bend. Brech is a waterfall. So when a Jew says Baruch, it means we are connecting to, drawing down into this place here. Ata Hashem Lakeinu Melech Haolam. So they're saying Baruch, we can explain later. Kvod havayim im koimah. And they're drawing it down into their world, Nehi, which is the beginning of our world. And the question is, how could it be that there's the mile of the Ifanim over the Srafim? They're just the poor cousins. All they have is Pel Mamesh, like over this Hasrafim. They don't have the Srafim, Shchinas Chagas and Chabad. And the Srafim, the ones are saying it's beyond us, and they found him connect and they mamshich. How could this be? Let's begin. The reason is because since the avodah of the Srafim their love is engendered because they understand. So it's wonderful, but their devotion, their nullification, their song is all engendered because they understand. Therefore, it's limited to their understanding. Simple. Their bittul is commensurate to their understanding, which is extraordinary. But at the end of the day, it's understanding. It's I understand, I appreciate. Their understanding at the end of the day is limited. We're talking asaga. What are they understanding? Truth of Elikus. But they're understanding it, they're appreciating it. And all of the understandings that Siddur shares with us to understand the truth of Elikus and constant creation and that everything is really bottled, but they're understanding it. The whole starting point is their appreciation. Because we are struggling to do, and we are to understand these things. So therefore what? So it engenders a love for God, a longing for God. It burns them up. They call it Srafim, but it's limited to their understanding. So their love is limited to the understanding because they are something that I understand. And therefore, as it goes on to say, that's the mile of the Ifanim. I don't understand anything. And it's going to give a beautiful mashal of Rav and the Talmud of these two kinds of bittul. The Talmud that understands and the Talmud that doesn't understand. We'll see tomorrow.